There you go. There's Joe. Look, I want everybody to give a big shout out to Joe. Joe is our secretary, and he sat there every day of filing because he's a notary, and he wanted to make sure that we had a notary on staff so people didn't have to come, get the paperwork, go get it notarized, come back. He did a great job, and we really appreciate that. We're now going to move into our sheriff candidates. If I could have the sheriff candidates come down and draw. I don't know how Russ is going to do it. He used two hands last time. We got three candidates. I don't know what he's going to come up with. Well, there you go. We need a hat. If only we had a hat. There might be some home field advantage there. It does indeed. All right, who's going first? All right. Who's number two? Well, I'll ask later. All right, Henry. Our first candidate, Henry Campfield.
I set that up on purpose. I don't know how that worked out that way, but it was the hat. I don't normally wear the hat when I'm speaking, but I got told the last time I was at, they kept asking because my billboards had my hat on, so I figured I'd wear it today. But for those of you that don't know me, I am Henry Canfield. I'm a Republican candidate for sheriff. I am the only returning candidate. I ran in 22 against John. Um, it was we call it a successful race. We didn't have the outcome we wanted. Of course, Sheriff Montgomery's done a lot of good things in the last 25 years. So, but it was successful. We got to meet a lot of great people. We got to get out and kind of spread the word and had a good time. Those of you that heard me last time, my platform is pretty much the same. We've had success in Baxter County, but I think we need to do some changes, and there's things that we could do to make it better for sure. I've been in law enforcement for 24 years. I'm the kid of the three. I think you're going to see most of us are probably going to be pretty close on what you're going to hear tonight. We're all we've all dedicated our life to law enforcement, and so you're going to see it's the same. But I started my career at the sheriff's office. I was hired under Joe Edmonds, and then had the privilege to work with Sheriff Montgomery for a few years, where I had the privilege of meeting my wife, who's sitting back here. We've been married for 15 years now. I had the opportunity in 2009 to transfer over to the police department. My wife was working in the jail at the time and had aspirations to kind of move up the chain, and with me being a patrol supervisor, I felt like it was going to kind of hold her back. So the stars aligned, and I moved over to Mountain Home, which worked out for her. She ended up being a lieutenant, and then transferred to the school, which is where her passion is and what she does now. I knew really, really young in my career that this is where I wanted to end my career. This is what I wanted to do. I believe I've been called to be the sheriff. So everything I've done in my career, I've tried to do to put myself into this position. I have worked every specialized thing in law enforcement in Baxter County, minus narcotics. I've never worked any type of undercover narcotics, and I've never been a school resource officer. But as I said, I'm married to hands down the best school resource officer in the state of Arkansas, so I think I've kind of got that covered too. But I did all that to bring myself to where I'm at now. In 2017, I had the opportunity to take a chief of police position in Flippin. I don't know if y'all remember the news on that, but there were bad things going on in that city. Their current chief was doing very illegal things. I got offered the position, which would have probably been easier to start a police department than what we got handed into that. So I take great pride in the 5 years that I spent there. definitely not the budget that Baxter County runs, but I had a $500,000 budget with 7 officers, so that's $325,000. That budget was for payroll, so we had to run that department with the other 2. So I feel pretty proud of what we did. There's 3 things. There's 100 things that we want to do. I'm going to tell you there's 3 things that we are going to do. Day one. Sheriff Montgomery has kind of got me a kickstart on the first one because K-9 is a big one. I was a K-9 officer for Baxter County. I also had the privilege to work a bomb dog for the U.S. Consulate in Basra, Iraq, 2010 to 2012. So K-9 is very close and personal to my heart. My wife is a current K-9 officer for the City of Mountain Home. But it's a program that we've missed in Baxter County for a lot of years. So bringing it back is I'm glad to see. And not just for the narcotics side of it, which we're going to talk about a little bit more if I don't run out of time, because that's a huge problem in our area. But we utilize DOC a lot when it comes to missing persons. That's one of the first things, and it's an awesome asset. It's an awesome asset. But I want you to think about your elderly parent wandering out in the backyard at midnight in December when there's snow on the ground, or it's 30 degrees. Just that 30 to 45 minutes it takes to get a dog from DOC to here is a lot of time and stuff like that. If we have that asset on the ground, that's something we can deploy right now. So that's something that's very near and dear to me, and I thank Sheriff Montgomery for actually getting that kick started. So that's going to put us ahead of the game. The other thing is body cameras. It is 2025, and we don't have body cameras on our deputies. Guys, we as politicians, and I'm going to call myself a politician because I signed that line a week ago. If you want true transparency, put body cameras on your officers. I'll tell you, I was a little hesitant when I went to Mountain Home and I was going to have to get a body camera. But I learned very quickly that it protected me more than it did anything else. So, as of right now, you get a complaint filed on you, it's kind of guilty till proven innocent, where if I can pull that body camera footage up, it's right there. And I'll tell you, I had my first formal complaint filed on me about 6 months ago. I actually got a phone call from the assistant chief. My chief is actually sitting here. He could probably verify this, but I actually got a phone call from the assistant chief, said, "Hey, Henry, just want to let you know that you had a complaint filed against you," which that usually kicks up an IA investigation and just all kinds of things. And he said, "We just want to let you know that it's already been closed. We don't need to talk to you," because they were able to pull up my video camera and watch the whole event. So body cameras, day one, will be at the Baxter County Sheriff's Office. The other thing is training. Training is where that's one of my big things that I do right now. So I'm the Northwest Director for the Arkansas Tactical Officers Association. So I get the opportunity to travel around the state and do classes. And we do a bunch of classes in Mountain Home. I'm an alert level instructor, alert certified instructor in about 4 different other categories: active shooter, exterior response stuff, solo response, things like that. So our training, we got to increase our training. If you want, we have great deputies in Baxter County. These guys and gals work their tails off for the amount of area they have to cover and the amount of people they have on their shift. They're by themselves a lot of times. So that's why training is so important to me. We've got to make sure that we're providing them everything they need to get their jobs done safely, and training is part of that. I promise you, if we have to run to your house for a bad thing, especially something that's going to maybe a large use of force, you want the best trained officer you can get at that time. So we're training is huge. So those are 3 things we absolutely. I'm sorry. This 10-minute countdown up here just throws you off, But those are the 3 things that we absolutely will get done. January 1st, 2027, for sure. There's other things. We all know in Baxter County, probably 90% of our crime revolves around drug and alcohol abuse. we have to make sure our deputies are getting the training that they need to work interdiction, working with the other departments in our area, making sure that we have a good working relationship, making sure we got the right people in the right positions on the task force and things like that. Our goal, or our directive from day one is going to be enforcement, just like it is now. If you get caught with narcotics in Baxter County, you're going to go to jail. You're going to go to jail every single time we stop you. And then going back to that training, we're going to make sure those officers know how to write their reports. They know how to document their evidence so we can give everything we need to give to the prosecutor to get a conviction on that. But as a sheriff, my job will be to figure out how to prevent crime. We know arrest doesn't do it. Arrest is going to slow it down while they're sitting in the jailhouse, but they're going to bond out, and they're going to go right back to what they're doing. So we need to bring programs into our jail. If I can affect the heart and mind of one person in that jail, we've affected crime overall. I mean, that's kind of a pretty common sense thing, right? If we can affect the heart and mind of one person, we've affected crime overall. Now, if I can affect the heart and mind of one person this month, maybe 2 next month, and on and on and on. And we have people in this community right now who are willing to come in. If you have a drug addiction problem in Baxter County and you came to me right now and say, Henry, I need help, I can make a phone call, but I promise you I'm not going to get you anywhere unless you just got a whole lot of money and you're willing to go south. We don't have treatment facilities, but we have groups that are willing to come in and put themselves in the line for us. And so, you know, something definitely we're going to do. I'm out of time, but I got to make one more thing because this is personal to me. You know, I was one of those kids growing up here in Baxter County, Arkansas, that had nothing to do, and I got myself in a lot of trouble. I ended up getting sent to a boys ranch 40 miles north of Amarillo, Texas, and somebody intervened in my life and changed my life forever. I was the kid in the high school parking lot smoking pot. I was the kid in the high school part, you know, that showed up first hour drinking. But somebody put themselves in my path and changed my life. And we can do that in Baxter County. So God bless. I appreciate your support.
Thank you. All right, who was next, Ross? Oh, there we go. Come on, Brian Davis. Come on down. There you go.
Good evening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Brian Davis, and I'm a Republican candidate for Baxter County Sheriff. I've lived in Baxter County for the past 14 years. I'm married to Elise Davis. We have 3 grown children and 5 grandchildren. I have 34 years of continuous law enforcement experience at 2 agencies. I began in 1991 with the Forest City Police Department. I started in the patrol division. I spent 15 years in the criminal investigation division. I was a narcotics officer for 6 years, supervisor over narcotics investigations, and I was a member of the department's SWAT team for 10 years. In 2007, I was promoted to lieutenant and became the commander of the criminal investigation division. I was second in command of the department, overseeing the day-to-day operations of 45 employees and a $2.6 million budget. In 2011, I came to work for Baxter County Sheriff's Office, started as a patrol deputy, spent 10 years as a patrol supervisor. In 2023, I was promoted to patrol lieutenant, and I'm currently the commander of the patrol division and a member of the sheriff's management team. When I made the decision to run for sheriff, Sheriff Montgomery challenged me to come up with ideas to improve the sheriff's office and to make Baxter County better. I put these ideas into a plan that I announced back in March when I announced my candidacy, and I campaign on that plan today. I made the statement back then, and I will not waver on that statement when I say that I will not make unrealistic promises just to get your vote. The safety and security of Baxter County will always be a top priority above anything else, and we will always work hard to keep the citizens of Baxter County safe and keep Baxter County a safe place to live and raise a family. While I believe that we currently have a great sheriff's office, there are things that I want to improve about the things that we are doing. There's things that I want to add to what we're doing, and there are some equipment items that I would like to bring into the sheriff's office. I've been asked about training. I believe that you can never have too much training, and we will always provide opportunities for our deputies and make sure that they get the training that they need. I've been asked about body cameras. I'm certainly not opposed to body cameras, and I know the benefit that they can have, and we will have body cameras under my administration in the sheriff's office in the future. When we do it, we're not going to rush. We're going to make sure that we do it right. Realizing that everything cannot be done at once, I believe there are more pressing issues that we need to address first. With the increased availability of drugs and the effect that it's having on Baxter County, drugs and thefts are the two main problems that we face. We have got to do something about the drugs that are getting into the hands of our children and your property that's being stolen while you work hard every day, mostly by those who are addicted to drugs. I'm not going to stand here today and tell you that I'm going to stop drugs in Baxter County, and I'm not going to tell you that nothing else will ever be stolen. But I do have a proactive plan that I believe will greatly reduce the effects that these two issues have on Baxter County. I have an anti-drug plan that includes aggressive arrest of drug dealers. Repeatedly, if necessary, we'll arrest them over and over again until they either go to prison, they're broke, or they decide that we're not going to give up and it's entirely too expensive to do business here and they move on somewhere else. It includes rehabilitation of our drug users. We've got to provide the opportunities for those that we arrest that are addicted to drugs and direct them to the agencies that where they can get help if they so desire to do that. If they decide not to get help, then unfortunately we will not let them use addiction as an excuse to commit crimes against the citizens of Baxter County, and we will continue to arrest them. The plan involves starting a narcotics unit within the sheriff's office, which will allow for increased drug investigations and more drug enforcement activities through Baxter County. Starting a K-9 program, which I have no doubt will be a great asset to Baxter County. During my time as a narcotics officer and a SWAT team member, I learned firsthand the value of a K-9. The funding to start this program and the continued care and upkeep of this program has now been secured with the last check that we received. Additionally, 2 other citizens have come forward and pledged their support to this program. I've already ordered some of the equipment needed to get ready for the dog, and I'm happy to say that this program is moving forward and will be up and running in the very near future. I have a proactive plan to reduce our thefts in Baxter County that includes implementing community policing programs that promote community involvement and empower the citizens to work together with law enforcement. It includes increased patrols to our businesses and neighborhoods, working toward getting the citizens to know our deputies by name and building trust. When I became a lieutenant in 2023, I implemented this idea with our businesses in the county, and I've received very positive response from many of our clerks and business owners. Starting a Crime Stoppers program where citizens can be paid cash rewards for information on certain crimes. Starting a property assessment program where upon the request, a member of the sheriff's office can go to a citizen's residence and evaluate their property and make suggestions of what things that they can do to make their property safer and less inviting for thieves. Starting more neighborhood watch programs, encouraging our citizens to work together with law enforcement, watch out for one another, and work together to protect their neighborhoods. There's no better asset in the neighborhood than the eyes and ears that already live there. If a criminal realizes that someone in that neighborhood is going to call the sheriff's office if they're doing something wrong, that could be what keeps them out of your neighborhood. When I started campaigning, I announced a plan to start an automated welfare check system for our senior citizens. Since this plan was first announced, it's received such positive response from the public, and I've been asked, why we wait? If this is a program that we need, why not start this program now? I got the approval from Sheriff Montgomery to move forward getting this program started, and I'm proud to say that I have secured the funding to start this program through the Sheriff's Foundation, and we should have this service available to the senior citizens within the next few weeks. I made the decision to run for sheriff because I've lived and worked in a high crime part of the state, and I know what can happen to Baxter County if we do not stay vigilant. I have 20 years of hands-on experience working with high crime rates and violent crimes that Baxter County has never had to face. I believe this experience, 27 years of leadership experience, and 19 and a half years of business experience is what Baxter County needs to lead the Sheriff's Office into the future and prepare the Sheriff's Office for anything that may come. Baxter County Sheriff's Office is second to none, and I've had the pleasure of spending the last 14 years and 8 months helping to build this agency into a sheriff's office that the citizens can be proud of. I would like to continue what we have started as your next Baxter County Sheriff. I welcome you to contact me if you have any questions or concerns, and I respectfully ask for your support and your vote on March the 3rd in the Republican primary election. Thank you.
And last, but certainly not least, we'll now hear from Mark Hollingsworth.
Well, good evening. My name is Mark Hollingsworth. I'm one of the 3 candidates for sheriff of Baxter County. I'm the one candidate that I don't have any billboards, so if I look a little fresh to you, that's just because I'm not out in the public a whole lot right now. But first thing I want to do before I get started and tell you a little bit about myself and also my background on the personal side and the professional side. I want to thank everybody for having us here tonight. This wasn't an easy thing to pull off. It takes a lot of work, a lot of moving parts. Wes, our chief, we appreciate all the work you've done on it. And we appreciate the opportunity to come before you and speak. Also, I want to thank everybody that has put the additional time in here behind the scenes. A lot of people don't see those folks that are at work all the time, whether it's on filing day, whether it's at the courthouse, any of that, but it's a huge system, and we really appreciate everybody that's involved in helping us get these things done. I'll tell you a little bit about myself on the personal level. I've been in Mountain Home, Baxter County since 1985. Prior to that, I worked in Pulaski County at the Pulaski County Sheriff's Office. Worked there for about 4 years. Left there, came to Mountain Home or Baxter County when I was commissioned as an Arkansas State Police Trooper. For the next 35 years that I spent with the Arkansas State Police, all but 3 of those years were in Baxter County. I worked as a highway patrol trooper, as many of y'all have stopped me this evening and reminded me about tickets or other things that we've run into each other over the years on. But I spent 9 years as a highway patrol trooper. After that, I was stationed in Little Rock for about 3 years, where I got into the criminal division. After about 3 years on that side, I returned to Mountain Home in a narcotics position. I worked as a special agent working narcotics and other violent crimes in this area. I went from there, got promoted in the division, and moved on up until I took command of Company E, which is the CID commander over at the Harrison area. It's responsible for about a 14-county area all across north central Arkansas over into the River Valley. Did that for about 2 or 3 years, and after that, I went to Little Rock via the FBI Academy. I got selected to go to the FBI Academy in 2016. At that point, while I was at Quantico, I got promoted to captain, and on my return from Quantico, I ended up in Little Rock for the next 5 years, where I was the commander of the Criminal Investigation Division for the entire state police. During that period, I was responsible for not just the 6 CID companies across the state, but also for the Major Case Squad, the Cold Case Squad, the Fusion Center, and any other thing that the State Police Criminal Division touched. So that was my job for the last 5 years. I looked at it as one of those, I kind of had a finite number of days to be there. I was on a drop at that time, which said, Mark, you've got 5 years to do this. We got down and we were able to set up a lot of programs and do a lot of good for the state police. And a lot of those programs are still in place for the state police today. I retired in 2021 from the state police. And after a short period of time where I did some consulting work for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, I was hired by Sheriff Greg Alexander over at Marion County to be his chief deputy. And I've been his chief deputy over there for about 3.5 years. And I'll tell you, it's been quite an experience, not just coming from the state police side of things, but having to operate a jail. Before, all you had to worry about was putting people in a jail. But I understand the operations now on the jail side, the budgeting side, and a lot of things that go along with that on a daily basis. I never thought I'd have to worry about doing anything other than putting somebody in that facility, but now it's a pretty much a full-time job just looking after the jail. What's that? How's that? A little bit better? All right. Professionally, as I said, I spent 35 years with the state police. In addition to my time with the state police, I spent 20 years in the Army National Guard, and also the Army Reserve. And during that period, I was mobilized for Operation Desert Storm and Desert Shield. And in 2008, I was deployed to Iraq as a member of a rifle company, and I went there and spent about a year with the 39th Infantry Brigade. That's a year that I'll never forget, and a year that's had a lot to do with the way I still do things on the law enforcement side as far as management and dealing with people on a daily basis. I've been asked about why I want to be the sheriff. Well, I'll tell you what, I think they've had good leadership. I got here in 1985 when Joe Edmonds was the sheriff. I think from Joe all the way through Sheriff Montgomery has really been a good ride. And when county government's good, you don't hear a lot about it. When it's bad and people are complaining, you do hear a lot about it. We don't hear a lot about bad county government from the courthouse or from the sheriff's office. And I'd like to be part of that legacy, but also there's a part of me that wants to give back to this community. And my wife and I have been here since 1985, which my wife's a retired school teacher here. So we both had a life of service, a continuous service here, not just in Baxter County, but all throughout the Twin Lakes area. And so when I'm asked about that, I'd like to give back to this area. I'd like to give back to the community that's been so good to me. You know, I've got two grown daughters that are proud lady bombers that have raised up, grown, and gone up to other places in the state, but they still come back and call Mountain Home their home, as we do. Most of my law enforcement career, other than the 3 years that I spent in Little Rock, have all been in the Twin Lakes area. I don't think either of my other opponents can say that. I've spent a lot of time here. I've done all my policing in the Twin Lakes area, whether it's been on the highway patrol side, working a homicide someplace, or working a narcotic case. So I've got that experience that I bring to the table. My plans for the sheriff's office, if elected, are pretty simple. Any law enforcement executive that's been around doing this for a while will tell you there's three different things that you look at when you come in to take over a department. You look at personnel, number one, equipment, number two, and training is the third one. And they all kind of go together. I heard the other two candidates tonight speak about some really good ideas, and I'm on board with them. But body-worn cams on the equipment side have to come. They've got to be here. Secondly, the training has got to improve. To evaluate the training and look at this performance as far as the personnel, the equipment training looks at, you look at three things. What cost us money? There's two things that will get us sued really quick, or use of force cases and vehicle operation. I plan to implement those plans or implement those training procedures once I take office, and that's on emergency driving and also on use of force cases. We have to have that. On the topic of the body-worn cams, folks, they just scream transparency. We run a body-worn cam program on a really, really slim budget over at Marion County. But I'll tell you what, they work, and they work because our supervisors come in and they look at them on a regular basis, and they tell us if we've had a complaint or if we've had an incident. And a lot of times we can knock it in the head just by taking a look at it and going through the video. But that just has to be something that takes place. On the other hand, body cameras don't set the stage for the way that officer is going to work his shift. And it's not an oversight, but it's more of a protector for that officer when he is out on the duty or out on a shift, and he knows that he's being recorded on any interaction that he has. And we're starting to put him in our jail as well, and we're finding there are complaints in the jail are going down as well. I read an article the other day, I believe it was in Police One Operations, and it was talking about the use of body-worn cameras. And the statements that they made about the body-worn cameras, they said in the last 10 years, probably the most significant piece of equipment minus the two-way radio has been a body-worn cam. Folks, that's pretty significant. And for us not to have a body-worn cam system in this county, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, the funding is there, and we had an opportunity this last year from the legislature that talked about coming up, and we were going to put a mandate for all the agencies to go to a body-worn cam system. The money's not there to do that, but I'm telling you, it's very doable. We do this over at Marion County for about $15,000 a year is what we're looking at, and that's without all the storage fees. So it's a very doable and a needed plan for the sheriff's office. I want to kind of get away from those three and talk a little bit about narcotics enforcement. You know, I've worked narcotics enforcement on the basic level as being an agent. I've worked the task forces, and I've got a load of officers over the years that I've had assigned to task forces. And folks, they just work. If you look at the recent activity through Baxter County, where we partnered with not just our state partners, but the local partners, but the federal partners, that's how it works. We're better when we work together, without a doubt. And so, I would like to see us more and more partner with those people, because there's just certain things that they bring to the table that we don't have. The city may have 2 or 3 things that we're unable to touch. They may have 3 officers that are really good in one specific area. The county may have some officers that are really good in another area. And then the federal government may have some officers that they can bring some things in that we don't have. As a rule, the state and the feds have a lot of things that we don't have. They've got a lot more stuff. So looking at that, we'd like to partner with them and try to take as many of these cases as we can to the federal level. That just makes more sense. If we're taking them on the federal level, we don't have near as much leeway on the sentencing. We don't have to hold them in our jails. We can have them in a facility that's holding federal prisoners. And we've just got a lot more leeway on what happens to them. And the biggest thing is when they're convicted, folks, there's not very much leeway that that judge can sit up there and say, I'm going to go outside the sentencing guidelines and I'm going to move over here. There's just not that. And on top of that, there's not a parole system on the federal system if we proceed through that area. So with that said, I think, again, we're better together, and I think that's one of these things that we just need to move forward and start looking at the task force model, which has been available for a number of years. Why we're just starting to get around to doing it, I'm not really sure, but it's really something we need to look at and move forward with as we go through, and hopefully we can plug that in after the March elections. Thank you very much.
All right. That is, I think, our last official speaker on our list. So these are my closing comments. I want to correct a couple of oversights. When I was going through our list of candidates, I only covered the people that were present and people that I knew were absent. But I think it's important we recognize everybody who has run for office, even if they're not here. So let's see. As I mentioned earlier, Rick Steiner was unable to be here, but he is running for position 3. And let's see. We have District 6, unopposed, Justice of the Peace, Lisa House. I'm not going to tell you who's running as a Democrat. District 10, Shannon Walker is not here. So those are our candidates for Justice of the Peace. I'm going to go ahead and tell you who our constables are since we're here. For District 1, we've got a race between Douglas Stevens, who is here somewhere. I know I saw you, and a John Pate. I don't think I saw him. District 2 is empty. District 3 is Caleb Johnson. District 4, Julie Little. District 5, Ben Burnett. Didn't see him. District 6, Bryce Henson. District 7 is Chrissy Cook. District 8, we will have a race between Tyler Brown and Bobby Hicks. District 9 is Billy Cox. District 10, Ron Weaver. And District 11 will be a race between Frankie Baker and Tony Brazuel. So those are all of our Baxter County candidates. Yes, he's next on my list. Next on my list, we have Stetson Painter in the house, and I invited him, if y'all all agree, to come stand up here and tell us a little bit about what's going on in his world.
I'll be really short. I first want to say thank you to the Baxter County Republican Committee for your support over the last 3 years. It's been an honor of a lifetime to represent the best part of the state in Little Rock. So thank you very much. For you ones that don't know me or traveled up for the other state offices, I'm Stetson Painter, state representative for District 3, native of Mountain Home. I used to could not be able to date between Viola and Harrison because I was related to everybody. But luckily, in the big metropolis of Cotter, I found my wife, Kaylee Painter, that's here with me tonight. And so, yeah. And also, real quick, for the families of the candidates, it's going to affect you too, because the men and women that have stepped up to run for office, there's going to be some nights that they're going to come in late. If they get voted in, there's going to be a lot of long days and a lot of long nights. And I know for me, if I didn't have my wife taking care of our daughter Audra, that's 7, that's acting like 13 at times, I could not do this job. So thank you to the families of the candidates very much. You guys are stepping up too. So I don't have an opponent for the primary, but I do have a Democrat because the Democrats decided we haven't run anybody since 2014. We might as well just throw somebody up there. So they got a couple hundred signatures and got on the ballot. But what your Republican legislature is doing is we have cut taxes every year that I've been in office. We've cut not only your property taxes and stuff like that, we've also cut bye-bye to the grocery tax. You do not have to pay taxes at the state level with your groceries. Also, one of the best thing I'm so proud of, we are the most pro-life state in the state of Arkansas. And that's because of conservative values like you guys that show here tonight. So there's a lot of things going on. It's just an honor, again, an honor to represent you and be your voice. A lot of you, like Mr. Baker, we have talked many times about issues going on. A lot of you I've known and grew up with and known for years. And so I see you all the time. I think a candidate up here said something about seeing you at Walmart. I try not to go to Walmart anymore because getting a gallon turns into a 45-minute conversation. But I love those. But be proud. You know why? You guys here in Baxter County are sitting at the leadership table in the legislature. I'm third in line on the House leadership, got elected to the third position in the late of my first term. I'm the majority whip in the House. I'm running again because you know why? Rural Arkansas has to be at the table. We're always forgotten, and if we're not at the leadership table, we don't have a voice. So be proud of that. Be proud of the candidates that are running, and Republicans are going to win in 2026. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You know, Jason Nazarenko is also filed to run again. He was unable to be here tonight. Boy, I think I'm at the end of the agenda. All right, we got any announcements for us? I don't got any announcements either. Thank everybody so much for coming to this. Yes. Oh, you want me to podcast? Okay, all right, I'll get to that. First of all, let me thank everybody who came here. Thank the candidates for showing up. We really appreciate you coming here and doing this. Thanks everybody else for coming out to support our candidates. Everybody has one of our books on your table. Be sure to take it home. I was going to try to find the front page here. Take one of these programs home, and patronize the people that put money into this for us. Most of these are small businesses, and they appreciate your support. And lastly, tune into our podcast. Got a lot. I think almost all candidates have come on our podcast at one point or another. They've given us their views. It's a much longer form content. You can stop it, start it, rewind it, go back, watch it later. And so I encourage you to tune in at our Facebook page, the Baxter County Republican Committee Facebook page. And we run it live there, 6:15 every Monday night. And then you can watch it during the week. And with that, I'm going to pronounce this shindig done.